Girls, let's get acquainted. Can you really just walk past two such interesting and completely single guys? Mikhail blocked the way of the girls walking down the university corridor, so they had to stop. The girls, first year students, giggled and laughed. Marina glanced at the guy from under her long, curled lashes. Handsome, of course, self confident, cheeky. They say about such guys that he's a favorite with the girls. Not her type at all. You'd better keep walking, young men, she said. Don't waste your time. Find someone else to meet. Oh, come on, Marinika, her companion and best friend Angela sang in an angelic voice. It's obvious what wonderful guys they are. And I think I've seen you before, in the parallel stream, right? She looked appraisingly at Mikhail, immediately noting his fashionable clothes and stylish haircut. She quickly glanced at his companion, who looked a bit simpler, and focused back on Mikhail. And what can young, interesting guys offer two beautiful ladies? After all, we're not going to stand here in the middle of the university. She took the bull by the horns right away. I'm Angela. Of course, Mikhail picked up, delighted by the sudden support. I suggest we go to some cafe after classes to get to know each other better, and in the evening to a nightclub. VIP seats, I guarantee. The club owner is my best friend. Angela could barely hold back from squealing with delight, but Marina was in a completely different mood. She didn't like the idea of the cafe, let alone the prospect of visiting a club. She planned to go to her grandma's that evening, who lived on the other side of the city. Sorry guys, but I really have other plans, Marina said. Maybe some other time. Mikhail looked at the girl and realized he liked her more and more. He couldn't even explain to himself what hooked him more, her pretty, tender appearance, some fragility, or this categorical refusal of further communication. He wasn't used to such a reaction from the opposite sex. Usually, girls melted when he showed them attention, but here was suddenly an impregnable fortress. His pride was wounded. Unnoticed, he nudged his inseparable partner, loyal Sashka, in the side and began persuading the girl. Marinika, that's your name, right? Look, my friend and I are at your feet. Will you really refuse two unfortunates? You'll make two hot hearts suffer. And Mikhail and Sashka synchronously bowed gallantly to the girls. Marina couldn't hold back and laughed. Her laughter, like a tinkling bell, echoed somewhere deep in Mikhail's soul. She agreed to go to the cafe with the guys, but refused the club. Angela tried all the time to impress the guys, especially Mikhail, but he, as if enchanted, couldn't take his eyes off Marina. And in the club, where Angela went with great pleasure, he kept asking about her friend. When Angela realized she couldn't switch Mikhail's attention to herself, she got very angry. The uninhibited, daring girl had no shortage of guys, and here, suddenly, they preferred this gray mouse Marinka to her. Angela befriended her precisely to look even brighter and more effective against her modesty. The kind, compliant Marina, who saw only the good in people, didn't notice that her friend often just used her. Angela tried to present Marina in an unflattering light. Oh, she's just a saint, she laughed, dancing with Mikhail. Haven't you noticed? But tell me, for once she had a chance to go to a trendy club where she'd never get in otherwise, and with such a cool guy, the girl winked. And she went to her grandma's. Little Red Riding Hood, that's me. Angela burst into laughter. Mikhail frowned discontentedly. The refusal from this fragile and slender girl was too unexpected for him. After all, he was used to always getting what he wanted. That's how it had been since childhood. When Misha was 10, his mother got seriously ill and died. His father Dmitri was inconsolable. He adored his wife, who was his first youthful love. He married his chosen one when he wasn't even 18 and never regretted it. Dmitri raised Misha alone. He threw himself into work, building a very successful business. There wasn't enough time to raise his son. He showered him with expensive gifts, trying to compensate for the lack of attention. The son quickly learned to manipulate his father. When Dmitri, after many years, got a woman and Misha found out about it, he threw a real tantrum. He screamed that he'd leave home and let his father live without him as he pleased. And then he accused his father of his mother's death for the first time, knowing that Dmitri was tormented by the fact that when she got sick, he couldn't help her. In reality, Dmitri started his business career so that lack of money would never be the reason he couldn't save a loved one if needed. When Mikhail threw the accusations in Dmitri's face, he immediately wilted and soon broke up with that woman. A little later, Dmitri began to understand that Mikhail had distanced himself from him. the father bitterly realized that his beloved and only son was hopelessly spoiled. He grew up a spoiled brat, a consumer ready to take everything from life without any effort. And now, suddenly Mikhail realized he couldn't get what he wanted as easily as he was used to. Marina wouldn't leave his mind. He began collecting information about her bit by bit. It turned out she was from a very poor, one might say destitute family. Her mother, working as a nurse, raised her alone. Dad left them when Marina was very little. Marina also had a grandmother with whom she was very close. Unlike her constantly tired mother who took extra shifts at the hospital to feed herself and her daughter, the grandmother always found time to talk with her granddaughter, ask how she was doing, laugh or grieve together over something. Marina simply adored her grandmother, and Mikhail decided to act through her. He already knew that every weekend Marina went to her grandmother's for an overnight stay on the other side of the city. And one day he showed up at Maria Nikolaevna's, that was her name, with a huge cake and a bouquet of flowers. The woman was very surprised by the unexpected guest, but when Mikhail said he was in love with her granddaughter and ready to do anything for her, it melted her heart. "Come in, Mishenka, we'll have tea now," Maria Nikolaevna invited Mikhail into the house. Marina, of course, didn't expect to see Mikhail in her grandmother's apartment. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw him smiling, flushed, pouring tea for Maria Nikolaevna. She was afraid to admit it to herself, but she liked this persistent guy with the Hollywood smile. From that day, they started dating. Marina seemed to be flying on wings, falling in love with Mikhail more each day. She completely dissolved in her feelings, giving her love all her warmth and tenderness, fully trusting him. Antela only flashed her eyes angrily at the sight of her rival, wounded that they preferred this pale moth to her. She tried in every way to demonstrate her affection for Marina, hiding hatred behind a mask of friendliness. Marina noticed nothing anymore, taking everything at face value. Mikhail was simply enchanted by Marina. Tender, trusting, open, she was nothing like all the girls he knew. He brought her home to introduce her to his father. Dmitri initially reacted reservedly to his son's choice, knowing his taste well and more prepared for his son to date a girl like Angela. But after exchanging a few phrases with Marina, he suddenly realized he sincerely liked his son's choice. Polite, smart, with good manners, and completely unspoiled, the girl made the best impression on Dmitri. After the son saw his chosen one off, he and his father had a serious conversation. "Misha, I'd like to ask you something," Dmitri said. "Let me guess," Mikhail said mockingly. "You probably want to tell me not to bring all sorts of girls home." "No, not that at all. I think you're very lucky with this girl. Honestly, I thought such girls don't exist in our time. Just please, don't hurt her. She's a very bright and vulnerable person." "Listen, Dad, if I didn't know you better, I think you fell in love. And with whom? My girl? You surprised me. I thought at your age you don't think about such things." "Rude, Misha, very rude. And yet, listen, this is your chance to change, to become better. Marina can do what I couldn't, make a normal person out of you. But you have to want it yourself. Don't make a mistake, son." And Dmitri left the room. Several months passed after this conversation. Marina and Mikhail continued dating, but the young man had already begun to feel a bit burdened by these relationships. Not that he stopped liking Marina, he just wanted more fun, parties, companies, to continue the cheerful student life. Marina already wanted to spend more time alone with Mikhail, especially since lately she hadn't been feeling well. One morning, the girl felt so bad that she couldn't go to the university. She couldn't even get out of bed. She felt nauseous and her head was spinning terribly. Her mother, who was home that morning, looked at her attentively and then asked her daughter bluntly, "Is this what I think? Are you pregnant?" "It seems so, Mommy. What now?" "What do you mean, what now? Tell Misha as it is. It's his responsibility too." Marina decided to tell Mikhail everything today. She didn't go to the university, but decided to take a walk in the park. She called her beloved and arranged a meeting. The girl already imagined how he'd be happy about the news. After all, they couldn't live or breathe without each other. Misha didn't like making plans for the future, but at the same time he assured her that he couldn't live without her, that she was the only one with whom he could be happy. "Mishinka, don't worry. I have news for you. For us. We're going to have a baby." "Misha, do you hear me?" Mikhail seemed to hear nothing. For a moment, something like fear flashed on his face, and then it seemed to turn to stone. In his memory flashed a recent conversation with his bosom buddy Sashka. He had told him then, "You're a tasty morsel for Marinka. Look at her and at yourself. You're fate's darling, born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Your future and your children's and grandchildren's are secured. Who is she? Penniless, lives in a one-room with her mom, and externally sorry, but she's so-so. Her friend Angelka is another matter. That girl's fire. You saw how she looks at you. If she looked at me like that, well, lucky Marinka if she gets you. Be careful there. If she gets pregnant, you won't get away." It was this last phrase that now kept spinning in his head. "Listen, Bunny, I have to run now, really. I'm late for a meeting. We'll discuss everything with you in the evening, okay? Do you need a ride? No? Bye then." And Mikhail walked quickly to his car. Marina, bewildered, took a few steps after him and then stopped. Her eyes stung treacherously. This wasn't the reaction she expected from Misha at all. In the evening, Mikhail didn't call her for the first time. Marina was beside herself, pacing back and forth in the apartment, listening to every rustle. What if he surprises her and comes rushing to her home right now? But it was quiet behind the door. Marina worried if something had happened to Mikhail. After all, he loved racing in his sports car so much. She always asked him to be careful. She called him several times and kept hearing that the subscriber's device was out of range. Marina fell asleep only towards morning. When around 10 a.m., Marina received an SMS that the subscriber was back online, she immediately dialed Mikhail's number. Angela picked up. "Yes, dear, what did you want?" she sang in her manner. "Misha, where is he? What happened to him?" was all Marina could say. "Nothing bad, darling, only good. He just went to the shower. Anything to tell him?" Marina silently hung up. Her ears rang. Everything swam before her eyes. She fainted. She came to from the sharp smell of ammonia. The first thing she saw was her mother's frightened face. Marina told her everything, and she sat and listened silently without interrupting. Then she raised her head and, looking her daughter in the eyes, said, "Well, that's clear with this scoundrel. He messed around and goodbye. You should have thought before getting involved with him. And I'll talk to his daddy. Let him answer for his son since he couldn't raise him properly. And we need to think about how much to take from him so it's enough for a good doctor and for the future too. You should get some compensation." Marina couldn't believe her ears. "Mom, what are you saying? I don't believe you're serious about the doctor. That's impossible. And Misha, I think it's not true." "What about Misha? What's not true? You really don't understand anything? He didn't need you. He used you and dumped you. And now what? You're going to raise the child alone? Well, let me tell you, that won't happen. I know what it's like to raise a child alone. It's decided. Tomorrow we go to the doctor while the term allows." Without waiting for what else her mom would say, Marina, in what she was wearing, ran out to the stairwell. In her head pounded, used and dumped, compensation, doctor. And then her phone rang in her jeans pocket. She didn't even remember putting it there. Mikhail's voice came from the receiver. "Hi, how are you?" "Fine," Marina whispered with her lips. "What? I can't hear anything. But anyway, Marina, we need to meet. Let's say in an hour at the cafe, okay?" And without waiting for an answer, he hung up. "Okay," Marina said, listening to the beeps. She barely understood what was happening. She went to the cafe where Mikhail had arranged the meeting. She asked for water. While drinking, she came to her senses a bit. Now, Misha will come and explain everything to her, and everything will fall into place, and finally this nightmare will end. "Hello, Marina," she heard a familiar voice. Mikhail stood before her, as handsome as ever, but something about him was unusual. Marina suddenly understood everything, even before he said the next words. "Marina, I think you'll understand me. You're not a stupid girl, far-sighted, but you probably didn't expect that I had no plans to start a family with you. I'm too young for that, and in general, I think I'm not made for family life. I don't want to be harsh with you, but I don't need you or this child. The maximum you can count on is one-time support." "From me? Well, if you need to see a doctor." "How can you, Misha?" Marina whispered. "How can you do this to me? But the child, our child." By the way, about whether it's mine, I was told something about you. Who knows a girl better than her best friend? So Angela didn't hide anything. Thanks to her, she opened my eyes to some facts of your biography. Marina didn't listen further. She got up and silently left the cafe. There was emptiness in her soul. It seemed they had just ripped out her heart. In the whole world, there was only one person who could accept her, understand, pity, her beloved grandma, Maria Nikolaevna. It was to her that Marina went. Angela twirled in front of the mirror, examining her reflection. The wedding dress from a fashionable designer suited her so well, but remembering with what difficulty she got it, she wrinkled her nose discontentedly. Mikhail was completely dependent on his father, so the dress, this luxurious rented apartment, glamorous jewelry, and cool parties all were at his expense. And considering that the father's relationship with his son was getting worse every day, the prospect of the money flow drying up was becoming more evident. It had been half a year since Angela started dating Mikhail. They both adored luxury, fashionable clothes, loved being the center of attention. In short, two of a kind. But who would know what efforts it took Angela to get the cherished proposal from Mikhail? For him, the question of marriage was taboo for a long time. Angela was sure that Marinka was to blame for everything. At the memory of her former friend, the girl's face twisted into an angry grimace. How she knows how to pretend to be such a naive fool, and Mikhail fell for this trick. Angela met him that evening when he learned about Marina's pregnancy. Mikhail even thought about marrying her then. He told Angela so. Even though he didn't want to tie himself with obligations, he'll have to. Moreover, the father, even if he wants to deprive him of money, won't refuse his own grandson or granddaughter. And Angela, hearing this, as they say, turned on the actress. She said she didn't want to betray her friend, but it pained her to see Mikhail suffer, so she'd tell him the whole truth. This Marinka of his is not such an innocent lamb. She manages to flirt with their group mates, and some older man has picked her up from the university more than once. Angela lied inspiredly and convincingly. She understood perfectly that a second chance to get Mikhail wouldn't present itself. Angela clearly saw herself in the place of Mikhail's chosen one, especially since the rich Dottie wouldn't offend the young family, which in the future might be replenished with grandchildren so desired by him. And her plan succeeded. The wedding was next week. In the last preparations before the celebration, Angela told Mikhail, "By the way, I wanted to discuss one more thing with you. Let's invite Marina to the wedding." "Marina? Are you kidding?" "I'm serious as never before. Let her come, be happy for us." "But between me and her, such things happened, and I heard she didn't get rid of the child. She's about 7 months. "So, you found out?" Angela flashed her eyes. "Don't you think it's your child? If it were, she wouldn't let you go. She'd demand money constantly. And so she took academic leave from uni and is probably hiding with the daddy of this child. Let her at least have fun at our wedding. Pregnant women need positive emotions." Angela burst into laughter. Mikhail was confused and could only say, "Let it be as you want, dear. You know you're the only one with whom I can be happy." And the wedding day came, an outdoor ceremony at a luxurious country hotel. A beautiful bride, a stylish groom. They smiled, greeted guests, accepted congratulations and wishes for a long and happy life. How surprised they were when, in the midst of the celebration, they saw Marina arm in arm with Dmitri, Mikhail's father. The girl was already at a solid stage of pregnancy and glowed with happiness. No one expected this at all. Mikhail was completely confused. He shifted his gaze from Marina to his father, unable to say anything. Angela, on the contrary, seemed to be bursting from within. She could barely hold back from bursting into a stream of vulgar abuse. Marina and Dmitri seemed not to notice all this. They were absorbed in each other. When Dmitri tenderly and carefully hugged and kissed Marina, all those present were shocked. Mikhail turned pale. He stared at Marina as if enchanted. Inside him now struggled the desire to leave his own wedding, go and ask this couple what it all meant, and punch his own father in the face. Angela was simply beside herself with rage. And the wedding was hopelessly ruined, and again this impudent Marinko was to blame. After the event, Mikhail approached his father and Marina and demanded explanations, and Dmitry told him everything. After the conversation in the cafe with Mikhail, Marina went to her grandmother. She comforted her as best she could, and together they decided that no matter what, they needed to live on, raise the child, and hope for the best. One day, Marina came to Mikhail's house to pick up some of her things. Dmitry was home. He started asking Marina what happened between her and Mikhail. At first, Marina didn't want to say anything, but then she suddenly burst into tears and told Dmitry everything. Dmitry, though he knew his son well, was horrified by his action. He had never felt such disappointment in him. The father apologized for his son and said he'd help with raising the child and take on all expenses. Since then, they started communicating. Gradually, feelings arose between them. Dmitry, a real man, felt the need to love and protect this tender and fragile girl. She, for the first time, felt protected, as if she exhaled and calmed down. And after some time, she realized how dear this man was to her and how she loved him. They kept their feelings secret, but when Mikhail decided to mock the pregnant girl like this, Dmitry decided to go out with her in public, thereby revealing their relationship. You know, son, I not only don't respect your action, I've stopped respecting you. If you didn't love her, you could have taken responsibility for the child like a real man without leaving the girl alone. But you had the audacity to mock Marina. When you were born, I was 17. Your mom was 5 years older, but it never crossed my mind to run away. Maybe I wasn't the ideal husband and didn't become the ideal father, but I did everything I could to make your life good. And now I want a little happiness for myself too, and I know the girl it depends on. Dmitry turned to Marina, got down to one knee and asked, "Darling, will you marry me?" Marina smiled radiantly. Dmitry was the center of her universe, him and this little miracle whose arrival they awaited so eagerly with their beloved.
"Yes, dear," she answered. "You'll make me the happiest of men." "Let's go home, Marinaka. You're already tired today," Dmitry said. Then he looked at Mikhail again and said to him, "And one more thing. If you don't get your act together, all the inheritance will go to Marina and your son she's carrying." Mikhail, completely bewildered, sat down on a nearby chair and clutched his head. He was simply crushed by what was happening. Angela approached him. "What a wedding gift your dad and that bitch Marinka gave us," she hissed angrily. "But give your father credit. He turned out to be a real man, unlike you. I married the wrong one. I should have chosen him." Mikhail raised his head and looked at Angela as if seeing her for the first time, but she had already turned on her heels and quickly walked away. Mikhail later realized that his father wasn't joking with him. He really limited access to money for his son, who wasn't in a hurry to start working, and his newlywed wife. Angela quickly filed for divorce, calling Mikhail a complete nobody, and rushed off in search of a new, more successful husband financially. Having realized and rethought a lot, Mikhail came to Dmitry and Marina with apologies. Along with the experience gained, he is gradually understanding where he was wrong. Now the guy works at his father's firm, trying to earn his trust. Only when meeting Marina, he can't bring himself to look her in the eyes and ask her to at least let him see his son.